Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. So before Classic launched, I did a little video on making sure you pick the right server for you, with particular emphasis on PvP versus PvE. RP servers on the other hand, be them from either side of the fence, have always seemed to attract a more chill and laid back type of player. Not really sure why that is, but it just seems to be a recurring theme with them. Now for Classic, most people ended up going PvP, be it for nostalgia of the server you played back in the day, wanting to try out World PvP, which had been so hyped up prior to Classic, or I don't know, maybe for something just a little bit different for yourself. I fell somewhere into the latter there and ended up picking a PvP server and landed on Gehenna's. And I can say as far as PvP servers goes, it started off and has remained one of the largest ones in the world, so I definitely got the PvP experience out of it. Well, the one that Classic would offer anyway. I was also of the opinion that if you really wanted to join a guild that was focused on performing at a reasonably high level, you would basically have to go PvP, and those kind of guilds just wouldn't exist on PvE. I think this train of thought came from the private servers, which typically have all been PvP, so the people who knew the game inside out and had done all the preparation and were going to offer the best quality of raids would be coming from that kind of environment, which would translate to everybody being on PvP servers. And if we look at Warcraft Logs Classic now for the top speed clears, this is very much true. Nearly every single guild on here is on a PvP server still. I don't know every single server off the top of my head here, but the first one that obviously stands out as PvE to me is Mirage Raceway, and those are the top 50 speed clears. So whilst it appears it's been true that PvP servers have more high performance oriented players and guilds on them, they absolutely do still exist on PvE. Whether that was the case at the start of the game so much, I don't know. The two different server types seem to attract some different players as well. On PvP there's a lot more, how can I put it, players with their ego invested in the game more so than there is on PvE, but I think that's just player versus player in general in any game really that I've ever played. Anyways, over time in Classic there has been a gradual shift to more people opting to move from PvP over to PvE. I would imagine things like Phase 2, the world buff meta and the dispels and all that kind of thing. People just want to get home from work or school or whatever it may be, just hop on and play some game and chill, not have to worry about getting ganked or anything like that. There's a whole number of reasons why you would do it. I myself made the move midway through Phase 5 and I can say that it's been the right choice for me. Main reasons being are really your common complaints from PvP servers. I just didn't really feel as though it was adding anything to the game, and more often than not it was just a source of frustration for me. Where the PvP wasn't really content for me, I was the content for other players, if that makes sense. And overall, if we head over to Ironforge.pro, as I'm sure you knew we were going to be, which just so you know pulls its data from Warcraft logs, so it's more concentrated around endgame players rather than those still leveling. At the moment, which I did not expect, there are a larger number of Alliance players compared to Horde at 53 to 47%. But if we cut that number down to just PvP servers, unsurprisingly the number flips over to a Horde majority, albeit quite a small one. Moving on to look at PvP, and there is an absolutely enormous Alliance bias, with it nearly being 70-30 in the favour of the Blues. There is quite literally one PvE server across all Western regions that is Horde majority, and that's Mancrik. Europe quite literally does not have a high population Horde PvE server to play on. So then, that's what we are working with at the moment. So if you're preparing for TBC or thinking, should I come back now, do I wait? Add what server do I want to play onto that list? I'd like to consider the two possible options for TBC here, be it both fresh or progressive. I'm hoping we get both, time will tell, but just for the sake of it, we'll cover the two. Fresh first. Assuming there are both PvE and PvP options for fresh, what we're going to do is take those server names and change them to Alliance and Horde. I think both of them are going to be extremely skewed population-wise. You would have to be mad to roll Alliance on a fresh TBC PvP server. Not even just because of the faction balance either. I would wager the kind of player who is looking out for fresh now will be somebody who is most likely one of these following things. They're 1, have a little character attachment or quit midway through Classic and they don't mind the new start. 2, they're extremely familiar with TBC from private servers. Fresh will be a real concentration of some of the most hardcore fans who want to play Blizzard's Fresh, as it should be one of the largest projects to ever do it. Why would you ever want to miss out on that? 3, people who know the min-max in and outs for TBC. Even if Blizzard made changes, it probably wouldn't keep them from going what they know and what they've learned works in the past through their leveling routes, having their raid comp set up before their character exists, any profession metagaming, and 4, most of these players will be Horde, as it's been proven to be the overall better performance-wise for years now. And 5, and this is exactly what's happened with retail over the years, people who are competitively minded and play Alliance are pushed to play Horde because of a lack of player who can also match their skill level in the game, especially in areas such as Mythic Plus or Raids. TBC is exactly the same through finding arena mates on your server faction and raid teams which are able to perform at the level you would like to. Which is why the PvE would be all of the Alliance players instead. For a lack of a better term, I think they'll be basically forced to be majority PvE. As for progressive, it's kind of been heading this way throughout Classic. TBC may really tip the scales though. I left because of the expected issues from PvP servers in TBC, how our servers are so much bigger, the landmass is much smaller, flying, the stuff for endgame level players to do in every zone. You know the story now on this. One thing that Progressive definitely has going for it is that people have their character that they want to carry on playing now. That should at least keep some people on the Alliance, despite the expected faction balance issues. But I'm betting there's going to be a lot of movement, if not running up to TBC, then within the first month or so, of people leaving PvP for PvE. However, if you are on a PvP server at the moment and you're in a faction minority, here's what I'd suggest. Make sure you actually like PvP, that you actually want to do Arena for the resilience gear, because the difference between somebody in raid gear compared to Arena once you start filling out your gear sets is going to be pretty huge. You aren't going to be flying about in the air all the time, and even if you are, do you think the guys who made it their life to dispel debuffs in capitals aren't going to find a new way to annoy people? Also, if you're on player versus player in Classic because your friends started playing then and then disappeared and they're like, oh, don't you worry, we'll come back to TBC, and they'll probably disappear again, or you just rolled there because that's what you played back in the day, maybe even if you just raid log still, there's going to be a lot more open world activity that you can take advantage of. Also remember, if you do transfer from PvP to PvE, you cannot transfer back that way. PvE players can only transfer to other PvE servers. Again, server population in Classic is doing what it's done in retail, but on sort of a super speedrun edition. And we aren't going to have the measures Blizzard have put in place to try and deal with the imbalances like your sharding, your phasing, your cross-server groups, your war mode. Well, I'd highly doubt any of them will come in anyway. I think people would absolutely lose their minds if Blizzard tried to put any of those into the game. Even though I could see a world where some of them could work if they just stayed server specific. I think that's an issue a lot of people take with some areas of retail, that you're really mixed in with such a huge player base that a lot of things just become unfamiliar and unknown to you. We're probably just going to have layering, and then I'm not really sure, just hope it works, I guess. So yeah, just a few things to think about for the servers moving forwards. Anyways, what do you think about this? Are you making the change at all, or are you sticking where you are? You can let me know below. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon. If you like what you see, do give the video a like and subscribe, as there will be plenty more to come. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.